Welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining me again this evening here, Tuesday night. As we all know, the NHL is on their pause right now for the Four Nations face-off, getting started tomorrow night. I believe it's Canada and Sweden kicking that tournament off, so should be a lot of fun. Those games, of course, will be between Montreal and Boston for venues, so yeah, should be some really exciting hockey, really good hockey. But just because the NHL is shut down doesn't mean there's not a lot of good hockey going on. You have the PWHL. I believe Minnesota and Toronto in action tonight. You've got, of course, minor league hockey, college hockey, and, of course, locally, plenty of high school hockey going on here over the next 2 weeks. So, all sorts of things to fill that time with. Tonight, I am in a random hotel here in central New Hampshire on a work trip for myself here in the middle of the week. And, my typical episode, I spend, you know, I'd say between 3 and 5 hours with prep, between research and prep and all the different things. And tonight I'm flying blind, baby. I am flying blind. I am unhinged. I have no bullet points. I have nothing in front of me. I've got a few tabs here, different websites open. We're going to dive into a few different things, but I have done no research, no prep work. So I'm sorry ahead of time, guys. This is going to be Ben unhinged tonight. I do have a beer in hand, and we're just going to have a little bit of fun, just kind of ramble on and talk about some various things tonight in the hockey world, and yeah, maybe a couple of personal things we'll dive into as well. Um, but yeah, with this pause, I thought it'd be kind of a good time to take a look at the NHL standings as we sit today. Of course, we are a bit over halfway through the season. Most teams have played right around 55, 56 games or so on their season. But we're going to start down in the Pacific Division, and you have got the Edmonton Oilers, 72 points right now in first place. Vegas with 72 points as well. Edmonton right now, right ahead of them just because of the points percentage. And then the LA Kings sitting third at 65 points, a team that I had out of the playoffs. So they are starting to prove me wrong. Vancouver has started to battle back a little bit. They're at 63 points, sitting in fourth place. Going up to the Central, and I'm just going to look at kind of the top four, top five in each division. In the Central Division, Winnipeg at 81 points, leading the league right now. 56 games in, 81 points for them, having just a hell of a season for themselves. Dallas, 72 points, and the Minnesota Wild at 70, with the Colorado Avalanche at 68 points in fourth place. Excuse me. Going up to the Metro Division, the Washington Capitals at 80 points. A fantastic season for them so far, 36, 11, and 8. Carolina City behind them at 70 points, and the New Jersey Devils 68 points with Columbus. Surprise Columbus Blue Jackets, 60 points, sitting in fourth place. And up to the Atlantic Division, you have the Stanley Cup champs, Florida Panthers, at 71 points, with the Maple Leafs from Toronto at 68 points, Tampa Bay at 66, and the Ottawa Senators at 62 points. And for you Bruins fans out there, sitting sixth, 60 points, not in a great spot. Not in a great spot. I am going to be doing a podcast here in the next few days where I'm going to take a look at the Boston Bruins, where they're technically not in the playoffs right now, and what's their record like so far against each individual Eastern Conference team that is in the playoffs. Like, how do they stand up against those teams that are in there right now? Because I have so many more questions than answers with this team in terms of the bees, and I mean, I do think if they happen to get into the playoffs, they're not going to look very good. They're not going to go very far. Um, I've gone from being pretty high on them, thinking that they could, win this division where they were so close to it a year ago, and make a run. I didn't have them winning the cup. I didn't even have them winning the East, but I had them making a little bit of a run this year. I really did, and um, really disappointing. Through 57 games, and of course the last two games just complete just for lack of a better word, shit shows in terms of how they played. I don't swear very much on this podcast, but just awful. The Rangers lost and then the Vegas loss, where you're up 3-1 against Vegas. I luckily did not watch that game. I was at the Cross Insurance Arena covering the Mariners game, but I got home and yeah, I just saw that they were up 3-1. I thought, oh, maybe they're going to pull out a win tonight, but man, you lose 4-3 against obviously a really good team, but um, that's four big points. I mean, you take those points right there, you'd be at 64. You'd be sitting fourth right now if you were able to grab those two wins. So, yeah, just looking at this though right now, looking at the wild card. So you've got, yeah. So in your East, you got, um, Florida, Toronto, and Tampa. In the Atlantic, Washington, Carolina, New Jersey. Those are your top three in each divisions, with Ottawa and Detroit right now sitting in those wild card spots. So of course, Boston just, a point behind Detroit, 2 points behind Ottawa, but those teams have games in hand on you if you're Boston. And Columbus is actually sitting ahead of you at 60 points with 56 games played. So right now, Boston, not only are you not in the playoffs, you're two teams out of the playoffs. Going down to the West, of course, you have Winnipeg, Dallas, and Minnesota in your top three in that Central Division. Minnesota holding on with Edmonton, Vegas, both with 72 points, and LA with Colorado and Vancouver sitting in the wild card positions. I'm going to take a little sip right here. I'm trying to fight off this cough still, guys. Now, Calgary, who has been in that playoff picture for most of the season, they are at 60 points. So they're three behind Vancouver in the wild card. At losers of three in a row for them, 4, 5, and eight a little bit. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to block these coughs, man. I do apologize for that. Um, So yeah, you do wonder if Calgary has any shot of holding on here. Obviously, still plenty of games to go. They've been a really good story throughout the year. The fact that they were kind of sort of starting to rebuild, they traded some assets away, but they've been very competitive and right there, really making things kind of difficult and challenging in that Pacific Division. One of my darling teams this year was Utah. Of course, the old Arizona Coyotes, and they're hanging around the playoff picture. They're at 57 points right now. Um, 6 points out of a wild card, so a little less likely that they're going to be able to battle. But they're right in that conversation, having a decent year. And I kind of thought they would make a bigger push. A couple of my surprises here, guys. Yeah, the LA Kings. Getting much better goaltending than I suspected they would. That was really my big question with them. And then when Drew Doughty went down earlier in the year, I mean, I had already made my prediction that they weren't going to hit. And then Doughty goes down, I'm like, well, there's clearly no way they're going to be able to get through this. And man, they're 29, 17, 7, 65 points. They've really proven me wrong. I don't think they make a long run necessarily. I think they're better teams in that Western Conference, but um, they're right there. I mean, they're battling, and again, they're 7 points behind both Edmonton and Vegas, but they do have games in hand on both of those teams. So they're in quite good shape. Um, Beyond them, the other actually maybe a bigger surprise for me has been Minnesota. That's probably my surprise of the season. I had them, I think, finishing seventh in the division. And here they are sitting third with 70 points, 33, 19, and 4. With this team, I just looked at no salary cap uh, room whatsoever, no ability to make any changes to their team. I don't believe they made the playoffs a year ago, or maybe they did. I think they did though. Um, just was not very high on them this year. Now, listen, Kaprizov is out right now for a few weeks. Being their best player, and we'll see what happens there. I hit the mute button that time, everybody. Be proud of me. I hit the mute button. I was able to do it. Like I said, I'm unhinged tonight, man. There's no editing software they have here in my hotel, so this is all unhinged. Um, But yeah, I just think, and I think I said it on a video prior to that, this is going to be, I think, a really fun playoff, kind of April, May, June. I just think it's wide open. I think you've got so many different teams that can come up and win this thing. I love the Washington Capitals story this year. I did predict them to be a playoff team where a lot of people didn't have them in the playoffs. I loved a lot of their moves in the offseason. I did. And you can go back and watch my Washington Capitals season preview. I think I had them finishing third in the Metro. So they've actually exceeded my expectations a little bit. Um, I just thought, listen, I like the Roy trade. Um, Not a huge Chikrin fan, but he has definitely fit in well there. And listen, the PLD move, bringing him over. Um, Sorry about that, guys. Another cough. I hit the mute button again, though. Um, it's just all worked. It's all worked for Washington, and they're getting the great goaltending, some of the best goaltending with Thompson and oh boy, Lindgren. They're in net. Uh, they're just looking fantastic. Could be a really hard out. My Eastern Conference champion is the New Jersey Devils. A little bit of a rough patch for them. They are dealing with some major injuries. Of course, it was Justin Brazeau of our Boston Bruins who took out um, their goaltender on I'm sure New Jersey fans will have their own take on it. Breslow kind of going into the net. Uh, you can look at it going back to that play. Breslow does charge the net. He is trying to get the goal in. Uh, Kind of loses skates a little bit. Looks like he kind of gets tied up with another Devils player. You can see he's trying to brace himself, trying to stop. He does get into the space on Markstrom. An unfortunate play, a play that happens quite a bit during the regular year in all these NHL games. Just a really unfortunate situation. But listen, Devils missing some other skaters right now too, and they're 5-5 over their past 10. They're battling through. They're going to be a playoff team. They got 68 points. They're fairly comfortably in that, and I still think they have a chance of. I don't know if they catch Washington at this point, but I could see them definitely catching Carolina, only 2 points ahead of them. So that could be really, really curious and an interesting race there. Going back to my Stanley Cup champion pick, which right now, going back to September, was the Dallas Stars. And right now, they're actually one of the hottest teams in the league at 7-2-1 over their past 10, 72 points. Of course, the team in front of them is Winnipeg. They're 8-2, winners of 8 in a row. So Dallas trying to catch these guys, but they're 9 points down of Winnipeg. But I think Dallas is going to be very, very tough out. They're starting to play some really, really good hockey. So a lot of good things happening there. I just again think it's going to be a really exciting finish here in the NHL over the last 25, 30 games. Um, I put out my video about the Boston Bruins and what I think they should do here at the deadline. I just have no faith. I have no confidence in this group this year. I think you go out, you make a few tweaks, you do things that are going to help you maybe a little bit from the long term. You don't sell it off. You don't do a big, fire sale or you don't burn the building down or anything like that. But I think that you just go out, find some pieces that can help you next season. I think it can be a pretty quick retool. I think that you can be right back there and be in a much better mix in that Eastern Conference next year. But I mean, you just see the way they've lost these games, the last couple games they've lost in particular. And I'll be curious when I do more research here on uh, how they fared against some of these playoff teams in the East in particular. But when you look at West, like I mean, Winnipeg has smoked them. They haven't fared well against Dallas. Of course, Vegas just beat them. They did beat Colorado in their last time out there. I think they actually beat Colorado twice this year. So, I mean, they have opportunity. They've had moments where they've looked good and played good hockey. But I just, it's not their year, guys. Listen, we're kidding ourselves if we're Bruins fans and we think that they have a cup run in them this season because they clearly don't. And like I said in my last Bruins video, I don't think they're just one piece away. I think they're 2, 3 pieces away, and I just don't think you have the salary cap. I don't think you have the assets on the assets you do have, I don't think you want to trade those assets to go out and, make a hope play for a Stanley Cup run. I just don't think you do. I don't think you do. So we are going to close out that right there. Apologize, I'm going to hit the pause button or the mute button one more time. I'm trying so many remedies to get rid of this cough. I had a friend of mine who she gave me a recommendation. And Aurora, if you're listening, I've been trying it, putting vapor rub on your feet at night and then put socks on your feet and sleep with your socks on with a vapor rub. And she said that helps. It did seem to help a couple of times, but this cough is still ongoing. So Aurora, if you're listening, if you have any other ideas, I'd be happy to employ them here because this is just pissing me off at this point that I can't get rid of this cough. Let's move over. Let's talk about the Maine men Black Bears. Let's see where they're ranking right now. Of course, they had two games against Providence. Both, I believe, went to overtime. They get the extra point in the shootout, and they win in overtime in the second one. So right now, guys, they are 18-5-4 on the season. When we look at the pairwise rankings, which again are the rankings that are used to decide, the playoff kind of brackets in the tournament, they are number 4 in the country. Right now, sitting behind Boston College at number 1, Michigan State number 2, Minnesota number 3. So Maine is right there. Providence, who they just played here the last couple of games, sitting number 7. Of course, you go back to the Bean Pot that finished up here just a day or so ago. Boston University with the upset over BC 4-1 in that one there. So just a storied tournament. I've as much as I live right here in southern Maine, but I've actually never been to the Bean Pot. I'd love to go sometime. That'd be a great tournament to go check out sometime. So listen, the boys are they're right there, man. This is probably their best shot at national championship since the late '90s. Since Coach Walsh was there and they were really in their heyday. So this should be a lot of fun. No reason I think they can't get there. I mean, I think probably BC is still probably the kind of national favorite, but I mean, if you're a Black Bear fan, you are right there, right there. Listen, not to be forgotten, you made women, of course, not having the same type of year that the boys are having. But listen, they just had a hell of a victory for themselves on Friday night, going back there up at the Alpha and beating number 13 Northeastern University 2-0. Shutout. Shutout win for the Lady Black Bears. I love it. They're not giving up. Like they're still playing through. And you go back the last two games before that, they lose in overtime to Holy Cross, 1-0. Lose to Providence in overtime, 3-2. And then they did have a couple of wins there, against New Hampshire, 4-3 and 2-1. So, battling through, battling through. I'm just gonna go and look at their. Man, sorry I don't have my editing software. I can't edit these damn coughs out. So yeah, right now they're 9-20-1 on the season, 8-14-1 in the conference. So again, yes, a down year, but I love their compete. I love their battle. Taking it to Northeastern like that, and playing tough against. I think it was UConn here not that long ago. Also, yeah, I had a tie shootout win against UConn. That was number 15 at the time. So yeah, they're battling. Hopefully it's a good character building season for the UMaine women. That's something they can build on. I don't believe they have a ton of seniors on this team. They have some, but I think that they have plenty of younger players that are going to be back next year. So you really hope this is just a building block type of year for the program. So that's kind of where they are sitting right now, guys. Turning to the PWHL. Of course, right now we do have a game going tonight. Gonna check in on that. Let's see where we at. Yeah, we are Minnesota at Toronto. 8:33 to go in the third period. 2-2 tie in that one. Listen, this is a really good brand of hockey, guys. This is a number of games I've watched. Competitive. It's high compete level. It's high talent level. I still haven't been down to Lowell to check out the Boston Fleet yet, but give these ladies a watch. Man. It is definitely worth the time just to check them out, whether it be on NESN or streaming someplace on the internet. It's like it's a really good brand of hockey. Looking at the standings, of course, as we know, only 6 teams. They haven't expanded yet, only in their second season. Definitely going to be looking at expansion here coming right up. Um, but right now, you've got, let's see, you've got Montreal 8-3, 1-1. So they are sitting in first place at 31 points. Minnesota Frost, first champion from a year ago, 25 points, 5-4. 2-4, I guess how they call that. New York is in third with 20 points. Toronto in fourth with 19 points, and Boston and Ottawa kind of fifth and sixth, 17 points apiece. The Boston Fleet 3-3-2-5. So kind of a middle of the pack, or let's see, their goals for 30 to 33 against. So yeah, it's going to be a fun league to continue to follow. Obviously, only 6 teams. I think you're going to see them get to 8, 12, 16 teams here pretty soon. Um, I haven't seen their attendance numbers, but I imagine they're pretty good. The few games I've watched, the arenas look pretty well packed out, and that's just great to see. So, hey, over these next couple weeks, if you're looking for some hockey to watch, go check out their schedule. It looks like tomorrow night Boston is in New York, a 7 p.m. puck drop there. So I'm sure you can find that someplace on the internet. I don't know if it's on NESN tomorrow night, but would be worth checking out. And finally, let's go and take a look at our Maine Mariners, ECHL affiliate of the Boston Bruins. Of course, a team that I know far too well, I'd say at this point. Um, and to that point, before I dive into them, I did put out on social media last night, but on next Tuesday, be the 18th, I'm very fortunate to have the privilege of welcoming in owner of the Maine Mariners, Dexter Payne, and play-by-play broadcaster and media relations director of the Maine Mariners, Michael Keeley, on the podcast. They're going to be joining me together. We are going to have a Q&A session where we just take your questions. It will not be a live stream, will be recorded. So I have put a call out there for questions, and for those who have responded so far, thank you. I do see your emails, I do see your posts, and I am gathering all those questions up. And we will be prepared to answer hopefully as many of them as possible. We're only going to have about a half hour, 35 minutes of their time. So only so much we can get in that time. But got another, I'd say 6 days to get those questions into me. Reach me on my social media pages. You can email me at pucksfromthepinetree@gmail.com. That's pucksfromthepinetree@gmail.com with those questions. Should be a good time. Had the chance to get to know both of these men over this season. Both very candid, very open, and very, very willing and happy to take your questions. So that should be a good time. So yeah, Maine coming off another middling weekend, I would say. A great game on Friday night, beating the Norfolk Admirals 3-0. Nolan Meyer just stood on his head, had just a great game. Nice shutout for him. But again, as we've talked about with this team, too many of these just split weekends that just aren't doing you really any good. Right now the team is sitting 17, 24, and 3, 37 points, only 2 games out of dead last with Adirondack at 35. The magic number is fourth place to get to the playoffs, and right now that is the Worcester Railers at 46 points. You do have the 2 games in hand on them. You have 2 games in hand on Reading, who's also in front of you at 42 points, but you're 9 points back. You're 9 points back with what's that, 28 games to go. So, I mean, it was a week ago. I think I said you have to play 600 hockey. You probably have to play 650 hockey, and you have to hope that Worcester takes a little bit of a tumble. Right now, Worcester over the last 10, 6-3-1, and Maine, you're 3-7. So not a good trajectory. Of course, you lose that game to Norfolk on Saturday night, 3-1. in a night where Worcester and Reading both lost. So, I mean, that's a huge swing right there. You could have easily picked up 2 points on both of those clubs. Doesn't happen. Pretty frustrating. Um, and I apologize. I'm going to try to hold this cough to hit the mute button so I don't annoy you. Haha, success. Um, Frustrating. If you watch that game on Saturday, listen, it was a bad 10 minutes. That's really what it was. The bad start. They weren't skating well. The Six weren't very active. Not a lot of forechecking. They go down 2-0. Coach Wallen calls a timeout. You see more energy after that, but then they quickly give up the third goal too. Norfolk just looked pissed. They played the first 10 minutes like they were pissed off by getting shut out. They felt like, hey, we're the better team, we're the deeper team. How dare us get shut out? By the Mariners on Friday night, and they kind of came out and took it to the boys. Um, I thought Maine responded well. They didn't let it get out of hand. We got to remember that it was only 2 or 3 weeks ago when Norfolk put a 10 spot on this team. So when it got to 3-0, we all kind of sat back in the media booth like, oh, is this going to be another one of those 10-2, 10-3 type of nights? Luckily it wasn't that. They battled back. They had opportunities. They had the 5-minute major power play that they couldn't really generate much off of. Of course, late in the game, they're trying to push, and they take some penalties, and it was all she wrote. Um, Norfolk, a deep team, 6 or 7 guys in double digits in goals. Um, I'm not going to make any excuses for this team, but there have been plenty of things that have not gone their way from a roster perspective, from an affiliation perspective this year. A lot of these teams at the ECHL level, they get help from their AHL clubs. Maine is, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they have not gotten the help that they have expected to get this year. Um, on Saturday night, they had 2 AHL contracts on their team, both goalies. So you only get to play one goalie. So you had one AHL contract on the ice versus I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 for Norfolk. So again, no excuse, but they're not getting the help there. They've had an injury bug. I mean, Evan Vierling being out. Evan had such a good start to the year, um, and just was playing like a kid that felt like he's going to be at the A very soon. Believe it was an upper body injury that he took, and clearly had to be shut down for the season. So that just that just sucks, right? We know the exodus to Europe. Listen, I know that question is going to come up when I have Dexter and Mike on. We'll talk around some of that, I'm sure. You lose Jimmy Lambert, gets cut from his Providence contract, and he goes off to Europe. Carter Johnson, one of my personal favorites. I think I mentioned I had a chance to interview Carter a couple of times. Couldn't have been a nicer person to talk to. Um, but he was one of the leaders on the team, really good at the faceoff circle. He took the injury. I think it was I don't know if he was a concussion or what, but he took a shot to the head, missed a number of games early in the year. Definitely affected, I think, his trajectory this season and his production. And then, of course, the last one was Christian Berger. Christian Berger. And this one surprised a lot of people. I talked to a few people at the Mariners, and they were surprised by it too. A kid who first year coming out of Penn State, so first pro season, um, had a sniff at the American League level. I think he was in Providence's camp this year and did get one game with the Hartford Wolfpack at the AHL level. So when you look at his play on the ice, his production, he was, I think, trajecting to be an American League full-time player next season. I do. I don't see how he wouldn't have made an American League roster next season. Doesn't mean he still won't, right? Doesn't mean he still won't. He could go over to Europe and light it up, make a little extra money for himself. But it just feels like there's other hurdles there. Like it's easier to get lost in the shuffle once you get over there. Because there's only so many spots in the American League, and there's so many players, both coming out of college, coming out of the ECHL, coming out of Europe, trying to get those spots. So yeah, a little bit of a surprising move listen, all these players have agents that are looking out for their players. Sometimes they, you know, whisper in their ear, hey, you can go make more money over here, have this experience over there. Whether it's good or bad for their development, the agent's trying to make this player more money. That's what they're there for. Um, you wonder how much good advice is going on. Listen, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I think in Berger's case, it was an odd move. It was an odd move. I don't know if it's the best move for his, longevity and long-term development and growth, but uh, I'm just a dude with a mic and a camera. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Clearly, clearly. So yeah, looking at the upcoming schedule, of course, the boys are going to be on the road for a bit, for about a month. Interesting schedule coming up. They are all the way out in Rapid City. I believe that's South Dakota. I think that's South Dakota, right? I have to check my geography. I think that's Rapid City, South Dakota. Of course, these are let's see, it's going to be Friday the 14th, so Valentine's Day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, when your significant other goes to bed and Valentine's Day is over, and you're clearly, not going to bed happy, you can step and watch the Maine Mariners. Hey, that's a good secondary thing to do on Valentine's Day. Um, I just laugh because that's just how most of my Valentine's days go. Uh, yeah, I'm going to bed alone and watching hockey, right? um, Saturday. This is interesting. They have an 11:59 Mountain Time. So 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. That means that's a 1:50. That's a 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time start on Saturday night. It's some sort of Midnight Madness promotion that Rapid City is doing. I know when I saw Keeley over the weekend, he's like, "You gonna be up with us watching that game?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, no. I will check the highlights later on that one." A little bit surprised on this one. This actually might be a question I have for Keely and for Dexter coming up, because you kind of wonder about, this is a league in the ECHL. They do have a CBA, collective bargaining agreement with the players and the owners. You would wonder a situation like this. It's just one game, right? It's a one-off. It's promotion. The ECHL and the players, obviously, they're all interested in promoting the league more, but not great for the players. Hockey players are creatures of habit. So much are they creatures of habit. And I mean, it's enough for the Rapid City players to be up that late. I mean, that's a late night for them, but for to have this game be played against the furthest eastern team in the U.S. in your league, um, making them start at 2 a.m. their time. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit odd to me, and I think it's kind of just a shitty spot, for the Mariners to be in. Um, Listen, I'm going to take a quick look at the standings. I don't think that Rapid City is um, really a top team in the league, if I remember. I'm going to go up here and look at the West. See, this is me not being prepared. This is me flying by the seat of my pants here. So in the West, in the Mountain Division, yeah, Rapid City, they're kind of in that category with Maine right now. 15, 22, 5, and 3, 38 points. They're in sixth place out of 8 in their division, and well out of a playoff spot uh, for themselves, a 422 points percentage. So not a great team. So a winnable game if you're Maine, but that's a tough spot. They do, let's see, Saturday, and then um, oh, I missed the Thursday game. They have a Thursday game as well. I'm sorry. So they play Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They don't play Sunday. So they do have a Thursday game. So the next time they're going to be out here is in a couple days, Thursday the 13th at 9:05 Eastern. So apologize for that. And then after that game, I think they're going to end up coming all the way back home, but then they go back to Norfolk for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where they have more normal times, 7 o'clock, and a 3 o'clock against Norfolk. And then on the February 26th, they go to Reading, 7 o'clock. Friday back at Reading, 7 o'clock, and a Saturday night, 7 p.m. again at Reading. And then they have a 4 p.m. Sunday, March 2nd at Wheeling for the last game. And I think only the third game of the year against Wheeling this year. So that's kind of their look through here through the month of February into March. Need some wins, guys. They absolutely need some wins. Um, been been a tough season. Been a tough season. But as I said, both Dexter Payne and Mike Keeley will be on with me on the 18th of February. Um, so get those questions in. They're very open to answer it as much as they possibly can. And listen, the little bit I've gotten to know Dexter, he really cares. Okay, this is an owner who really cares about this team, cares about the fan base, cares about the season ticket holders, cares about growing the sport in the city. And I think he's not happy with the reflection of the results this year. I don't think he's happy with that at all, for sure. And I have a lot of confidence that there's going to be things in place. I know some things that he talked about last time he came on about building maybe a practice facility, getting his foundation going, learn to skate program, the data science project with UNE. There's a lot of cool things happening behind the scenes that we don't see as fans, after every Friday or Saturday night game. But a lot of good energy, and I'm just excited with the long term, potential and future of this team. And it may not help us this year, um, but I think a lot of good to come. So, looking forward to talking to both of them coming up here in a week from now. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Maine can start to put some wins together and keep battling. Hey, you go on a 3-game winning streak and Worcester goes on a 3-game losing streak. We're having a different conversation. Both of those things have to happen, and that's the problem right now. If you're Maine, right, you're kind of dependent on another team kind of falling behind a little bit. But that's what we have right now when the NHL is off. I've been so busy with work stuff. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to bullet point anything. I'm just going to start rambling and talking, and y'all going to have to put up with it. And but I appreciate you guys checking this out tonight. This was Ben Unhinged. Let's say Ben Unhinged. But before I do let you go, I do want to send my heartfelt condolences to a local family that I've known for a number of years back in my hometown. Home church in Waldoboro. They lived in the area, but Jeff Norton passing away this week. Jeff was, I believe he and my dad were friends like way back in the day. But Jeff retired military, was part of First Baptist Church there in Waldoboro for a long time with his family. Didn't know him super well. I'm not going to pretend like I knew him very well, but did go to school with one of his sons in high school there just for a couple of years. I think he was a couple years younger than me. But just a lovely man, a lovely family. He battled an illness for a number of years and did succumb to that just a few days or about maybe a week or so ago. Uh, so he's home with Jesus back in heaven, and he's celebrating, he's happy, and but obviously, it leaves a big, big hole for his wife, his kids, his grandchildren, all those who loved him and knew him. So, to the family, to all those who knew Jeff well and called him a friend, my sincere and heartfelt condolences to you all this evening. He left a big mark, in our community and all those who knew him. So rest in peace, sir. We will see you soon. It's not a goodbye, it's just a see you later. And that's the great thing about being a follower of Jesus. So, anyway, guys, thank you for putting up with my ramblings tonight. I'm going to let you all go. I'm going to end this, but check out that Four Nations tournament. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Check out the PWHL while there's no NHL on. It's a great time to check out the ladies. They play a great brand of hockey, and so anyway, guys, until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.